Welcome back to Master 79. In this lesson, we will tackle an ielts writing task 1 bar chart comparing the number of miles traveled in a year by men and women. We will read the chart together, brainstorm it, plan it, and then write a complete band 9 model answer. Here is the task. The bar chart below shows the number of miles traveled in a year by men and women for 6 different purposes in a particular country. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Notice the 2 instructions hidden in that wording: select the main features and make comparisons. You are not asked to explain why, and you are not asked for an opinion. This is the chart, redrawn from the figures. 6 purposes run along the bottom: day trip, entertainment, meeting friends, taking children to school, shopping, and work. The vertical axis shows miles traveled, from 0 up to 40,000. Red bars are women, blue bars are men. Pause here for a moment and let your eye travel along the pairs, asking one question only: which bar is taller? The same information as numbers. Read across each row and the pattern jumps out. Men are ahead for day trips, entertainment, and work. Women are ahead for meeting friends, taking children to school, and shopping. The totals are close, roughly 136,000 miles for men and about 130,500 for women. These values are read from the chart by eye, so treat them as approximations. Before writing a single sentence, work through 5 quick steps. Identify the 2 groups. Note the units and the time frame. Rank the categories for each group. Sort the 6 purposes into 2 piles: men ahead and women ahead. Then find the biggest and smallest gaps, because those will become your supporting detail. Pile 1: the purposes where men traveled further. Work is the standout, at roughly 35,000 miles against 30,000. That is the tallest bar anywhere on the chart, and a gap of about 5,000 miles, the widest difference in the whole figure. Day trips show the same shape in miniature, about 10,000 miles for men against 6,000 for women, so men traveled almost twice as far, even though this is the least traveled purpose overall. Entertainment gives men a smaller lead, around 15,000 miles against 12,500. Pile 2: the purposes where women traveled further. Shopping comes first, at roughly 30,000 miles against 27,500. That ties with work as women's joint highest figure. Taking children to school follows, at about 27,000 miles against 25,500. Then meeting friends, at approximately 25,000 against 23,000. Notice that all 3 of these leads are small, under 3,000 miles each. So which features do you actually select? 5 earn their place. The totals are close. Work is the top purpose overall and holds the largest gender difference. Day trips generate the least travel for both sexes. The 3 categories women lead in are all domestic or social errands, and each of those leads is slim. That last observation is what turns a list of numbers into an argument. Now the plan. 4 paragraphs. An introduction that paraphrases the prompt with no data. An overview carrying the 2 big picture trends and deliberately no figures at all. Body A covering the 3 purposes where men traveled further. Body B covering the 3 where women did, grouping by who leads, rather than walking through 6 bars one at a time, is what separates a band 9 structure from a band 6 list. Paragraph 1. The introduction. The bar chart compares the distances in miles that men and women in one particular country traveled over the course of a year for 6 different purposes. Every content word from the prompt has been changed. Shows becomes compares, number of miles becomes distances in miles, and in a year becomes over the course of a year. Paragraph 2. The overview, and this is the paragraph examiners look for first. Overall, men covered a marginally greater total distance than women, and work-related journeys accounted for more mileage than any other purpose. While men traveled noticeably further for work, day trips, and entertainment, women recorded the higher figures for the 3 remaining purposes, each of which involves a domestic or social errand. Count the numbers in that paragraph. There are none, and that is intentional. Paragraph 3. The first body paragraph, where the figures finally arrive. Work generated the greatest mileage in the chart, with men driving roughly 35,000 miles compared with about 30,000 miles for women, a difference of some 5,000 miles and the widest gap of any category. A similar pattern was evident for day trips. Men's figure of approximately 10,000 miles was almost double the 6,000 miles recorded by women, although this was the least traveled purpose for both sexes. Men also held a narrower lead in travel for entertainment at around 15,000 miles against 12,500. Paragraph 4. The second body paragraph. Conversely, women traveled further than men for shopping at roughly 30,000 miles compared with 27,500, and this matched work as their joint highest figure. They likewise exceeded men when taking children to school at about 27,000 miles as against 25,500, and when meeting friends at approximately 25,000 miles compared with 23,000. In each of these 3 categories, however, the margin between the 2 groups was comparatively slight. Here is the language toolkit that did the heavy lifting. Comparison links compared with, as against, whereas, conversely. Approximation, roughly, approximately, some, just under, a little over. Words for the size of a gap, a marginal lead, a narrower margin, the widest difference. Multiples, almost double, nearly twice as far. And ranking language, the greatest mileage, the least traveled purpose, joint highest. Rotate through these instead of repeating more than 5 times. Why this answer earns band 9 on the 4 criteria. Task achievement. All 6 categories are covered, both groups are compared, and the overview carries no figures. Coherence and cohesion. 4 paragraphs, 1 clear idea in each, linked by conversely and likewise. Lexical resource, precise mileage and comparison language with no repetition. Grammatical range, participle clauses, complex comparatives, and consistent past simple. One honest note. Band 9. Here is my own assessment of this answer against the public ielts band descriptors. It is not a certified examiner score. Let us check the finished answer. 4 paragraphs, 228 words, comfortably over the 150-word minimum and with no padding. Every one of the 6 purposes is named and quantified, and every figure is hedged because these values were read from the chart by eye. Your turn. Redraw this chart from the numbers. Then write your own 4 paragraphs and keep the overview free of figures because that is the habit examiners reward. Thanks for watching Bmaster 79.